Oh, hello out there. Hello out there. Ah,
So
yes. Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Ooh, it's about 5:06. We'll get started promptly at 5:10. Um, Again, another opportunity to take care of your biological or other needs before we get started at 5:10. And yeah, and so we come back in the room. And to start at 5:10, you can unmute your mics because I will take you through a brief exercise. I want to hear some of your responses. Okay, it's 5:10. We'll get started. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone has had a good day today and was able to get a lot of things accomplished and find yourselves now at a point this evening where we're ready just to have some conversations around marketing and doing some revisit on a few of the other sessions that we did previously. So I want you to have your mics open because I want to just ask a couple questions as it relates to last week's governance session. And so Michelle has, oh, pardon me, let me just take a moment to introduce Michelle up in the corner there. She's the person you all been engaging with in terms of your applications and all your information. So, and she'll be the person that you'll be talking most likely with until she departs us in August to head back to her academic studies. So, so I do want to ask a couple questions about governance and what your takeaways were in terms of the roles and responsibilities, because I think that's going to be so important that you understand and abide by the rules of governance as you look forward to developing your cooperatives. And so governance. Well, governance means, when we're trying to steer, and this is what I wanted to share in light of last week and just looking at governance and how you govern it, because there are a lot of different kind of ways of governance, which we uncovered last week. And so I wanted to ask this question, and I'll go around Robin and I'll ask the question. And you give me two things. Who's responsible for this? I'm going to ask the question and you tell me who's responsible for it inside of governance. So I'll start with Sienna first up there. Who's responsible for creating the strategic plan?
The board and the people who they're consulting with.
So good, so good. Board of directors. All right. So Julian, who's responsible for approving the annual budget?
The board.
All right. Patrick, who hires and evaluates staff other than the executive director?
Manager.
Manager? Yep. That's a part of the authority. Valerie, who's responsible for assessing the performance of the board of directors? Who is responsible for assessing the performance of the board of directors?
Members?
They could be, but who else is? Who would be that? Who do you think would be their primary responsibility to assess the board of directors?
The manager?
No, not manager. Okay, it would be the board themselves, because they would have a criteria for evaluating themselves on performance, attendance, their commitment to other contributing. Yeah, so the board would do a self-assessment on each member of the board.
Gotcha.
Thank you for trying it. Nikki, right? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Go ahead.
Nikichi.
Nikichi. I'm getting close there. Thank you. So, who will be responsible for reviewing the IRS tax return? Who would be responsible for doing that?
Board.
Okay. Who else?
The manager, ED.
And then some others.
That's all.
Well, you hit it. It would be all of those persons in executive authority. They will be the person responsible for viewing that 990. Okay. Leslie, are you there with me?
Yes.
Okay. So, who do you think would be responsible for revising and updating the mission statement?
The ultimate responsibility is on the board of directors, but it's best practice to get the input from stakeholders, so the public, members, and that sort of thing.
Well, thank you. And you're correct. Primary folks are the board of directors. Okay. who has fiduciary responsibility over the organization? Julia, you there? Hello?
How did I know you were going to ask me that question? So it all depends if the board actually has a nonprofit status to be identified as a fiduciary. If that be, then the cooperative themselves have that responsibility. The general manager and the board, along with their CPA and lawyer, would help to make sure that their process is seen thoroughly. However, if it's an outside fiduciary, then that outside fiduciary will be responsible for that.
Well, let me see if I can unbundle what you just shared with us. When we talk about fiduciary and governance, it's not fiduciary and being a fiscal sponsor. They're two different roles. So as a fiduciary of an organization, then you have authority over governance. I think what you were describing is a little of the fiscal relationship of an organization to another organization.
So governance can be as it relates to the structure itself and the finances. So ask me your question again.
No, governance, a part of the governance is overseeing finances. So you would have that earlier question about the 990 operating budget. Those are part of the governance duties of the board of directors or the assigned officers.
Right.
But the fiduciary, who is fiduciary responsible for the organization and every decision that evolves out of the organization, whether you made it or not, who does the buck stop with?
Yeah, I think it's the term fiduciary that is a big confusion, because the way that I've heard it is the one who disperses the money.
No.
Yes.
That's a fiscal. You call them fiscal agent or fiscal whatever you want to call. That's a fiscal person who's dealing with money. I'm talking about the operation and the governance of the organization. Who are the ultimate decision makers?
The board of directors and the membership.
There it is. Right there. Board of directors. Nobody else. So, well, as you are taking.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
Let me explain something first.
Okay.
As you are now beginning to meet, and if you actually legalize yourselves already, all of those minutes that you're taking now become legal documents. So it's very important as you begin this process, if you've already incorporated and you're having official meetings on behalf of the organization, ensure that you document those minutes correctly, because they can be used as legal documents if someone chooses to stake claim against the organization. And so, and that could be someone internally as externally. So I wanted to say about that. That's a part of governance and rulemaking. Now, going back to your question is?
My question is, based on the cooperative structure, who is the fiduciary if you choose in no way to have a board of directors?
Well, first of all, it's the members. Are we in agreement with that? The first group of folks that comprise a cooperative are the members. And then what the members do? They elect who? What the members elect? They elect the officers, right? Because the officers are part of the membership, right? They come out of the membership. So you have your membership, you have your officers. Then, which is your board of directors. And then it goes to how other relationships may intertwine in the cooperative. And I hope I'm getting to your question. Whether you say you hire a manager to run your store, or a manager or some kind of manager to do any activity, or maybe an executive director, those are employees. They're not officers. They are employees of the organization. And they can be, in a cooperative, they can be members as well. Right? Because you can hire within, you have that flexibility as a cooperative to do that. So in some cases, you may have people wearing dual hats. A member of the cooperative, a member of the board of directors, or to be a member of cooperative, to be a manager of a business, or executive director of the organization. So you can wear dual hats in a cooperative, and it's important to understand the roles. So you don't get them convoluted, right? It's all mixed up. Because when you wear the role of a board of director, you are responsible for the fiscal and fiduciary operation of that organization. That's your responsibility. So all those things like reading your 990 tax return, doing your strategic plan, that's all part of your extension of your role as a board of directors. So I just wanted to kind of go back over that, because I know we covered a lot of different conversations around how you can set up your governance structure. It doesn't have to be a traditional hierarchical structure, right? So we now know that there's team governance across the team. Again, it's one person, one vote. Everybody has the same vote, the same authority. So as you're looking, again, exploring all this work around how you will eventually structure your co-op, take a good deep dive and see what works for you. Because I don't function well sometimes in a hierarchical system, particularly when it becomes authoritative. I can't, I can't function in those kind of environments. So when you're developing now, thinking about your cooperative and how you want to legally structure it, how you want the governance to take place, it's now the time to start thinking deeply on that. How you bring members in. So again, I want to go back and just share with you, you got a lot of videos that's been included, some readings, and most importantly, I don't want you to think for one moment that in 36 hours, you're going to become some professional, well-versed person around cooperatives. It's an ever growing industry, because a lot of different dynamics always seem to be happening. And so the more I talk to other people, the more I'm able to learn. But I do want to just share that about the governance. So going forward, we're scheduling meetings with all your teams. I just want to be able to get a sense that I understand what you're trying to do and seeing which ways that we can support your work. I mean, it's important for me and for this organization, for you to really actually grow and develop a co-op. It's just so critical to see the realization of all this work when people actually are now establishing these businesses and putting themselves in the space to grow as groups and teams, and hopefully have all that good work that you're doing impact communities and people. So so we want to sit down some time, and Michelle now scheduling. I got 2 meetings scheduled tomorrow, I think, with 2 groups. And so I like to get this out and done pretty quickly, because we only have 6 weeks. So we're in our 2nd week now. So I like to be able to do that before you finish the 12-week academy. Lastly, Michelle sent each of you out some grant applications. And so those are not repayable grants, those are non-repayable grants, which means that if you are really on track in terms of trying to get your co-op on the right launch, then this grant up to $500 can help you do that. It help you pay for your legal incorporation with the state, whomever the state you choose to locate in. It may help you hire someone to help you finish a business plan or a marketing plan. So take a look at it. And there's some criteria. I won't go over them all today, but they should be included in the document. So if you have some questions, come back and let's have a conversation, because I do want you to be able to access these funds and get some things done around your cooperatives.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
In the MOU, there was a section that said that anything that is created during the 6 weeks between the participant and the presenter is the right of the presenter and the participant.
And
So that means that the stuff that we're learning, and as say, I'm gonna use me, and the stuff that I'm thinking out loud and coming to conclusion on or clarity on, it now is the property of you and me to use.
no.
Yeah, that's how
I
the
don't
language
know.
is read.
No. That wasn't intentional language. I in my organization want no ownership of anything that you're doing. We wouldn't be able to support what you're doing, but we don't want ownership of your work, your product, and all that. I'm having a hard enough time just owning up to myself these days. So no, I'm not trying to own anything that you create or idea that you promote. We want to be able to support the work that you're doing. That's our interest here, and be able to grow this idea of Black cooperatives around this country. So in rural as well as urban communities. So that's where we're
Because
at.
it says the parties agree that any intellectual properties which is jointly developed through activities covered under the memoranda of understanding can be used by either party for nonprofit, non-commercial purposes without obtaining consent from the other and without any need to account to the other.
Yeah, well, that means that if you and I develop something, I have just as much access to it as you do. And you have just as much access to it as I do. That neither one of us own it. We share it. Yeah, but I don't anticipate we're gonna, who knows? Maybe we might write, maybe you and I might write that $1 million book together. So who knows? But I don't anticipate that. But never know. Never know. So that's just to say, if you and any of these consultants develop something together, that's strictly just, we're saying that or we do it with you. It's a shared responsibility, shared ownership. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, just share it. So anyway, this grant, take a look at it. And as you sit down with your teams over the next weeks, try to fill out some strategy, how you're gonna go forward. I'm gonna talk with you about fundraising, early fundraising, because there are some costs if you're gonna commit to getting this process started and then still working to build it. There are some costs that come with that, mostly legal costs. But if you're also interested in expediting and accelerating what you're doing, then this grant may be, these funds, this $5 may be able to help you do some acceleration work going forward if you cover some of the other baseline items that you need to get done. So again, take the time to look at it, sit down with your team, because that's important, that everybody can get on the same, make sure we're all on the same page going forward in terms of the work that we're doing. All right. Okay. We're gonna talk this evening about marketing. Unfortunately, the faculty member scheduling conflict prevented him from attending this evening. So I'm going to sub in with him. So Michelle, let's get started on the first thing that we're gonna look at. We're gonna look at a video in terms of the 5 marketing points of business. And so, Michelle, do you have that up so we can load it up?
I believe it might be easier if you load it up so you can play it through your speaker.
You want me to load it up or you gonna load it up?
I think it would work better for you because I don't have a laptop.
Let me go ahead and load it up. then. Okay.
Wow, look at this. 94% of people believe company culture is.
Just make sure you share your screen.
Okay, looks like I'm getting better.
Hi, everyone. It's Felicia here checking in with you on day 2 of the Total Business Mastery Seminar. Hi, everyone. It's Felicia here checking in with you on day 2 of the Total Business Mastery Seminar. Did you know that there are 4 principles of marketing strategy? I didn't either. Watch this brand new footage where Brian explains exactly what they are and how you will become more successful once you start using them.
Is my screen showing?
Oh, yes.
Yes, but it's not full screen.
Business owners, I say, who sets your prices? Sometimes I have a whole room full of business owners.
There you go.
Who sets your prices, by the way? Who determines your market share? Who determines your profit levels? And who determines how fast you grow? And who determines the future of the business? I do, we do. No, you don't. Your competitors do. Your competition determines everything. Your competition determines your level of sales, the prices you charge, and how much money you make. I've done a lot of work on military strategy, and one of the great principles I learned in military strategy is that no strategy can be made independent of the enemy. In other words, you can't sit there and plan military strategy ignoring who your enemy is and where they are and how big they are and what their plans and intentions are. So no strategy in business can be made without thinking about your competition and who are they and what do they do and why do people buy from them and how can I get them to buy from me and how will they react if I get their customers. There's volumes of books in the libraries on this, and I've got them all. There's one book called Competitive Analysis. It's this big by Michael Porter. It's 600-800 pages, and it's all on things that you have to think about to position against competition. Big stuff. You can get PhDs in marketing focused on competitive analysis. So the 4 principles of marketing strategy are these. Number 1 is your decisions in these 4 areas. Your decisions in these 4 areas determine the success or failure of your business. The first is specialization. Specialization is determining where you are going to specialize, which we'll talk about in your product or service. And I'll talk about this, I'll define it a little bit better. The second is differentiation. Differentiation is really the key to business. They say that all business strategy is differentiation strategy. Competitive advantage is how it is that you are different and better than your competitors. Because human beings in the marketplace, customers, always want to know why should I buy from you rather than from someone else. And you better give me a better reason than your competitor does, or I'll buy from your competitor. And it's not personal. It's just, I want to get the very best deal. As a customer, I want to get the highest quality for the lowest price. You tell me why I should buy from you, why you are giving me the highest quality, the lowest price. And if your answer is better than that of your competitor, I'll buy from you. And if it's not, I won't. And it's not personal, no emotion involved. We get emotionally involved because it's our business. So differentiation is the key. Is how and why and where are you different. Segmentation means looking at your market and saying, who are the specific customers in the market who value my area of differentiation and who will pay more for my area of specialization than anybody else. So in other words, in every marketplace, and they say that all marketing today is segmentation, is segmenting and identifying those customers who are most likely to buy from you the fastest. And finally, there's concentration. Once you have determined your very best market segment for what you do really well, what you do is you focus all your energies on them. So let's look at it. Specialization says, this is the product, service, customer, market, or area of technology where you focus all your efforts. We also say in specialization, it can be a product or service. It can be a particular customer that you want to serve, or it can be a particular market area that you want to work in. I'll give you an example. McDonald's. McDonald's customer is people who want to eat quickly, and they want cleanliness, efficiency, value, price, and pleasant surroundings. And so what they will do is they will offer every product that they possibly can for people who want to eat with it, whether it's a salad or whether it's a shake or whether it's a type of coffee or whether it's, in other words, they're constantly looking for other products that they can offer to that customer who's in that market segment, which wants to eat quickly and efficiently. And they test continually. Very clear about that. So the next one is okay. And so differentiation is your competitive advantage, which you've heard me talk about, but you'll never hear me talk about it too much. Because if you can identify and or create a competitive advantage and convey it to your customers, the dam will break. You can make more sales and more money in a year with a clear competitive advantage to your customers than you might make in a lifetime if your competitive advantage is unclear. So number two, it's your area of excellence or superiority. It's something that you do better than anybody else. And I sometimes joke, why is your product or service better? And they say, quality and service, quality and service, quality and service, we give quality and service. And people don't understand that that is only an answer if your competitors offer zero quality and zero service. In other words, other than that, it's not an answer. If your person says, well, you should buy from us because of our quality and service, they're saying, I do not have the slightest idea why anybody should buy from me. I'm a complete idiot and I'm a danger to my company and probably to my whole society. So it's interesting when Steve Jobs looked at the BlackBerry, looked at all the cell phones that were out there, and he sat down with his engineers and he said, I want a phone that you can activate with one button. They said it's impossible. All these other phones have all these other buttons you turn off and on. They said, I want a phone that you can activate with one button. And he kept sending them back and sending them back, and they finally came with the one button. You activate it, put in your code, and bam, you have all your apps and you're ready to go. With Amazon, one button. It's never been done before in history. Can't be done, can't be done, can't be done, can't be done. I want it done. And there's the phone. I said, cell phones today should not be so darn complicated to start out to use and get around and so on. I had a BlackBerry, and to get an app on a BlackBerry, which has far fewer than Apple, is almost like you need an act of Congress to get a damn app. I mean, you know what I'm talking about? They're so hard. And you go to BlackBerry, I go to Apple, which my family and my staff got me into. Within half an hour, I had 30 apps loaded. I mean, it's unbelievable. You're loading them one at a time. I go, whoa! And now you can float the whole world. And the stuff that's on there for apps, just the free apps blow your mind, much less the paid apps. And now you're 486,000 apps. Think about that. Right? But they make it easy. So Apple says, come to us and it's easy. You can access everybody, anything, anywhere. And then they come up with the Apple II and they put a video model on it. Whereas you can actually hold it up and you can talk by video to anyone in the world who has an Apple with the same facility. It's the most amazing damn thing. I mean, you look at it, it's almost like a kid. It's big. So what is yours? And if you don't have it, you can't compete. But if you do have it, you sell 50 million sets and become the highest valued company in the world in 5 years. If you can be really clear about an area of excellence that people want and will pay for. Your unique selling proposition. What is it that, and this is called your USP. Your USP is the one thing that you offer that no other competitor offers in the whole world. It's unique. What do we know about the word unique?
selling physical products is not the best way of making money on Amazon in 2021. Now, yes, that model does work, but my twin brother and I, Christian, we've discovered a new and improved way of using Amazon.
Is it cannot be modified. It's the only adjective that cannot be modified. You can have more, and you can have greater, and you can have greatest, but you cannot have more unique, or uniquer, or less unique, or uniquest. You have only one word, unique. Each person here is unique. You are not uniquer. You are not the uniquest. You are unique. There is only one of you in the entire world. So therefore, what is your unique selling proposition? I've worked with people and spent hours to identify this, and when they finally identified it, their business went up 500% in the next 12 months. They could not believe it. They went from struggling to living in a big home, driving a Cadillac or a Mercedes, because they finally found it, and that all of your advertising, all of your promotion, all of your work is focused on conveying that USP to your customers, getting it to them so that they are clear what it is. And if it's what customers want and value and will pay for, they will line up around the street. Remember when they brought out the iPad? Because of the iPhone, nobody really knew it was in the iPad, except it was going to be like a whole broad screen. They have everything that a computer has. They line up around the streets by the hundreds to lay $500 down. $500. I don't know about you, but I think $500 is a lot of money. Wouldn't you say? $500? These are poor people with flip-flops and sandals and tractor caps. I think they have to put their $500 down to get this, because they didn't know what it was, but it's going to be like an iPod, an iPhone with a bigger screen, plus all kinds of other capabilities. Wow. And you know what they did? They sold 25 million of them in less than a year. 25 million, and they totally changed the book retailing industry. The book retailing industry, like a ship that turned over, went from basically hardcover books in bookstores. It flipped. Now 51 to 55% of all books are being purchased as ebooks, and the reason is because of the iPad. Because iPad owners are readers, and they buy an average of 200 to 300 books in the first year. And the whole market flipped on borders. One of the biggest and oldest bookstores in America went bankrupt all in less than a year when the iPad was introduced. Can you imagine? I mean, we're living in pretty turbulent times. Wouldn't you imagine a company that spent decades building is bankrupt nationwide within a year with the advent of one new technology? So what is your unique selling proposition? Theirs is convenience. You can get everything fast, everything convenient, more convenient than anyone else. Everybody tries to compete with the iPhone or the iPad. Can't do it. The Nook can't do it. The Hewlett Packard got into it with their tablet and just quit. It's just can't do it. Now, who is it? Not Samsung, but the Korean company is trying to compete and so on. But they have a unique selling proposition. So my question is, what is yours? And I'm going to ask you to answer that. What is yours? What is it that you offer that nobody else offers? Now, here is an insight. If you're offering something that everybody else sells, let's say you're a real estate agent. What's your unique selling proposition as a real estate agent if every other real estate agent with 100 miles has same unlimited access to the MLS? What is your USP? What can it be? What could it be? What should it be? Come on. Choose. Well, the answer is yourself, because the product is all the same. You don't even control the product. You don't even control the marketing. Everybody else can have it. So what most top realtors? I work with top realtors. The average realtor makes about $25,000 a year. I work with an entire room full of realtors. The average income is $833,000 a year on straight commission selling, and they all started off with nothing, and they're now at the top of the field. Some of them make several million selling homes. What's the difference? Personality, preparation, punctuality, friendliness, warmth, follow-up, notes, phone calls, contact. In other words, they make a supreme effort to build a really high-quality relationship with a home buyer or home seller so that that person will never think of going anywhere else. I know because I worked with some of these people in buying and selling my homes, and I would never buy or sell, buy or sell anybody else but these people, because they are so good at what they do. And every one of them started off on the street, knocking on doors and dialing for dollars, and made a decision that their unique selling proposition was going to be themselves. And you, as an independent business owner, can make that decision as well. Make the decision that I'm going to take such good care of my customers will never go anywhere else. I don't have to give them blandishments or discounts. I'm going to take such good care of them that they will eagerly come back to me. So number 4 is, where are you or could you be the best? Where are you or could you be the best? And this is the great question, because everybody here has the ability to be the best at something. Everybody here has the ability to be the best at something that people will eagerly pay for and tell their friends about. And your job is to figure out what it is. Your job is to figure out what it is and then do continuous and never ending improvement until finally people say, you know, you're the best. You are really good at what you do. You are really good. Look at Lady Gaga. I saw her at the Grammy Awards as well. I don't know anything about Lady Gaga. I've never listened to a Lady Gaga song. She came absolutely from out of nowhere. She's 25 years old. She's one of the top 10 tweeted people in the history of the world. And she made last year $60 million. And where was she? Singing in nightclubs or bars 5 years ago? And she's an incredible entertainer. And there ain't nobody like Lady Gaga. You know what I'm talking about? It's unbelievable. Why? She knew what she had. And she goes to the extreme with her dress and her appearance and everything else. And she wraps it around a good dress. And just literally it's taken over the world. So segmentation is who are those customers who most appreciate your area of superiority? Who are your very best customers? You see, your best customers are really easy to sell to. They'll buy and buy again. They're happy. They like you. They come back. They bring their friends. They give you recommendations and testimonials. Whereas your worst customers, your customers from hell, you have to literally break your back to sell them anything. They complain all the time. They don't pay. When they do pay, their checks bounce and they stand back and bounce it to you like a basketball. So what are their demographics? What are their psychographics? The demographics are things that you can observe from the outside. Age, income, education, family formation. Psychographics are what motivates them. And this is where the future is in your business. And every person has psychographics and they have a key psychographic. I'll tell you this in a second. How would you describe your perfect customer? I do this, by the way. I said, imagine that you were at a social or business gathering and you're networking and someone came up to you and said, look, I know a lot of people in this community. How would you describe your perfect customer? Don't tell me what your product or service is. I don't care. Just tell me who would your perfect customer be in terms of their wants, needs, age, education, income, position. And so you would have to describe your perfect customer without mentioning your product or service at all. A person would not even know what you sold. You describe the customer. This is what this person is. This is what they are. I'll give you an example. IBM at one time had 80% of the world computing market. 80%. Then they made some mistakes. And now they have much less. But they had 80%. They had so much that the federal government tried to break them up for about 13 years. They brought antitrust suits against IBM, just like they tried to break up Microsoft. They finally, Reagan came into power. They started in 1970. In 1983, it was brought to Reagan's attention. They said the federal government has been pursuing IBM in $50 million, $100 million lawsuits for 13 years. And what did they come up with? People buy IBM because they really like IBM, and IBM treats them really well. They said, well, if they can't come up with something on IBM, they have to drop the lawsuit. And they said, we can't come up with anything. The customer, the antitrust is supposed to be in favor of protecting customers. IBM customers love them worldwide. Then drop the suit. They dropped the suit after 13 years. They did the same thing with Microsoft. They harassed them because they weren't giving enough political contributions. That was the major reason. They weren't giving enough political contributions. Finally, after years, I had to say, why do people buy Microsoft? They like the product. The product is good and it's cheap and it's flexible and everything. So how do you describe your perfect customer? This point I was making with IBM is IBM realized that when they first started selling the 360 mainframe in 1964, the customer was really the president of the company, making a major strategic decision that we're going to put everything in our company on computers, because everything was paper at that time. You know? And so they would have to make their presentations to the senior executives of the company, and work out all the numbers and so on. But as computers became more and more popular and they started to have PCs and desktops and so on, the whole decision-making shifted to the purchasing manager of the large companies. And so they had to focus and change all of their marketing. So it focused it on purchasing managers, and they learned more about how purchasing managers think, want, how to eat, breathe, and communicate, and where they're educated, and the size of their family and their income, and their psychographics and demographics, and they focused all of their effort on purchasing managers and became the biggest selling company in the world, 80% of the world market, because they knew their customer. I hope I'm making a point here. Many people say, describe your customer to me without mentioning your product or service. They go, oh, well, somebody wants it. All right. So demographics, here are the key demographics. By the way, if you don't know these, find out. What we do, you know how we find out? Do surveys. Ask your customers, offer them a prize if they fill in the blanks. Age, gender, that's important. Income, how much do they earn? Education, how well educated are they? Occupation, what sort of work do they do? Location, where do they live, and so on, and family status. Those are the main demographic features. And you've got to be very clear, because if you change the demographics of your customer, you change your total marketing approach, your selling approach, your packaging, your product, your service, your people, and everything else. Now, your psychographics are even more important, and this is really neat, is what are their goals and ambitions? Because remember, people are motivated to buy because you offer to help them achieve a goal that they have. Or what are their wants and needs and motivations? They're motivated to buy because they have a need for what you're selling. And what are their hopes and dreams and aspirations? Where do they want to be in the future? And can your product or service help them get there? And 4, what are their fears or doubts or worries? Here's one of the great breakthrough discoveries for me in the last few years, is there's always one reason why people will buy from you. There's one major reason, and you have to find out what it is and convince the prospect that you can give them that benefit. There's always one major fear that will hold them back. There's always one major doubt that holds them back from buying. And you must find out what that is and alleviate it. You've got to do both in every sale. What's the major reason? How does Brendan alleviate the fear of making a mistake of going to his program? How does he do that? Yes, not only that, not only is the entire fee is refundable, he'll pay your airfare and your hotel. He does. He'll pay your airfare and hotel for coming, just to not waste your time, because he's so confident in the value of his program. So in other words, he's making it a risk-free thing for you to do. What is the biggest risk that you have with Brendan's terms and conditions? That you really like it and won't want your money back, and you'll be out the money that you have paid because you really enjoyed it because you got your money for it. Geez, that's a real tough downside. Number 5 is, what is the problem to be solved? Is we call this PTBS, problem to be solved, problem to be solved, problem to be solved. People buy your product or service because they've got a problem to be solved, like a parrot. Problem to be solved, problem to be solved, problem to be solved. And a goal unachieved is a problem unsolved. A need unsatisfied is a problem unsolved. A pain not taken away is a problem unsolved. This is the focus of your business. What is the problem that you solve for your customers when they use your product or service? And you must know that with crystalline clarity. You know, like that in the movie with Tom, what was it? No, Perfect Gentleman. You know the movie I'm talking about with Tom Cruise and yeah, not Risky Business. With Jack. Yeah, what does he say when he says, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" And he looks into the camera. He says, "Crystal." And that is what I'm saying. Crystal clear. He says, "It's crystal." Well, you must be crystal when you're clear, when you're thinking about what it is you do for your customer. And all your advertising, all your promotion, all your business is based around conveying that crystal to your customers so they understand crystal. You know how a cafe advertises on the side of the freeway or the highway. You're going down the road, you see a great big, it doesn't say mom and pop's best selling meatloaf and family cooked food and come and visit us sometime. It says a big sign, it says hungry, question mark. And the next one says, turn at the next exit for the best food on the highway. In other words, they first of all get your attention, because if you're hungry, what happens? Hungry. You'll see that reciprocal, your reticular activating system will see that word hungry. Now it's got your attention. The next time it's turn here, or food. You want food? Turn now. Real simple. So concentration is the 4th part. Concentration is where you focus your time, money, and resources. Remember the old saying, 50% of my advertising is wasted, but I don't know which 50% it is. Well, maybe 80%, 90% of advertising and promotional dollars are wasted. And if you can just increase the efficiency of your advertising by focusing your message with greater clarity on your best customers, you can get 5 and 10 times the response per dollar of advertising that you were getting before. So what are the best possible ways to contact your ideal customer? And this is moving very quickly today. It's shifting all the time. Second of all, what are the best possible media for you to use? Most of you use the internet exhaustively, but the internet is only one method of communication. And it's still small relative to all the other forms of advertising and promotion. I have a friend who does $35 million a year with radio ads, 60 to 120-minute radio ads to get people to phone a number where then they are interviewed and then sold into another telephone call where they are introduced to a product which takes them to another telephone call. That's 35 million a year with radio ads. So there's all kinds of ways. Imagine if you could run an ad, 60 seconds. And how do you test an ad? We're working with one of the top companies in the country. They develop an ad, they narrate the ad, they're happy with the ad, and then they run the ad in a tiny market, a small town. They pay $5,000, get 50 spots, and see what kind of response rate they get. They will run the ads 5 days a week. They'll run one ad on Monday, one ad on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and 5 different ads, and they'll see which one causes the phones to ring. And then they'll take that and they run it in New York. And what works in Podunk is going to work in New York at 100 times the scale. In other words, they debug the system, get a nice ad. And what if you could have an ad that would cause qualified people to phone you all day long? Phone you and call you and say, please, 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 sell me your product or service. I've got my credit card hand. Is that possible? But yes, it's being done. It's being done all the time. You ever listen to radio? Those people are not advertising for fun. They're advertising because they're making a lot of money doing it.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning into your virtual Backstage Pass. You just watched Brian explain the 4 Qs of marketing strategy. Which one?
Okay. So you can unmute your mics. Just want to go through some of that presentation. I found it real interesting when I first viewed it, just learning some new language around approaches. And so I always had my perception of what value proposition meant for me. And so for me, it was never about what I had materially. It was more for me in terms of my character and how I carried myself through life. That has probably been my biggest value proposition, making sure that I'm aware and awoke in terms of my actions. And then I take accountability for my good and my bad decision making. And so that's how I sort of put this, what he was describing, this value proposition, what it isn't. Some people, you're working for individuals, some of it maybe on a product. But when you don't have a product to place as identifier that describes who you are, then it becomes you. And you are your number one product. Most times it's not the product that I buy, it's the person's personality and how they've approached me and how confident they can make me feel in a trusting way about the product or about what they're trying to sell. So he mentioned market segmentation. And so when I think about, segmenting the market and what that segmentation may look like, it's that if we say that we want to work in underserved communities, then realistically, what markets are we deciding to work with on one sense? And then the other side of that question would be, what markets are we looking to grow and develop? Any thoughts from anybody? All of you working in underserved or working underserved communities, you're going to be working with an existing market that you can not grow, or you can look at an existing market that you're going to work with and look at how you're going to build growth, particularly in terms of these ideas around cooperative work.
I can chime in.
Go ahead.
Just one of the things that me and Patrick have been struggling with is because the product that we're trying to put together is for Black youth, mostly for Black youth, I should say, not exclusively. The end user is oftentimes going to be different from like the people who are actually going to be purchasing our product, in terms of like teachers and school leaders. So that is something that has made sort of that analysis a little bit tricky, but I think we've been working through it.
So Julie, go back and clarify a little more to me. You're going to be developing a product for institutional players. Is that what I'm hearing?
Primarily, yes.
Okay, but the end user will be the kid on the street in terms of how that product will be used to.
Well, it would actually, that's not quite accurate. It'll be used by teachers.
Okay.
The assessment of the product isn't just the teacher. It's like the teacher vis-a-vis like whether or not the students are rocking with it or not.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Am I allowed to offer a suggestion to Julian and Patrick, Ron? Or is this not the time for that?
Oh, no, you can, no, we're talking, go ahead.
Okay. I work in a nonprofit sector in DC, and I am all about community input in building. So it might be worth your time to, I don't know, beta test or something, get the perception of youth in nonprofits, that strong youth-led nonprofits. The ones that come to mind immediately, BYP 100, Black Swan Academy in DC. What is the writing one, the workshop? Oh, it's not coming to my brain right now. But those are, I know how invested youth are in what they participate in. So that might be worth reaching out to nonprofits that have a strong youth-led base to see what their perception is of what it is you're trying to offer. If that's going to be contingent upon the product itself, the success of the product, getting that input now at this stage would be absolutely crucial. And that might be a great way of doing it. That's always I run to Black Swan for a lot of things when it comes to youth. Hey guys, I heard about this, check this out, because I understand how invested they are in their own development, what is happening that's for them, so on and so forth. So wanted to offer, I didn't know if you had thought of that, but just wanted to offer that to you all.
Yeah, no, thank you for that.
All right, okay. All right. Did anyone pick up on two terms that he defined in terms of marketing? One was the demographics and the other was the psychographics. And so as you particularly looked at putting together your marketing strategies for your co-ops, but also too, let me just remind myself, because I was just thinking, marketing strategy to get people engaged in your work. When you look at expanding, you're going to have a marketing strategy going into how you approach people. Either those that you may want to financially invest in your cooperative, or those that you may look at being members of your cooperative. Or the third person is the person who you look at supporting your cooperative. So I would certainly echo out the importance of right now getting your demographics together. If you're not done it, start to look at, your communities that you're located in, or communities you anticipate that you may be moving into, looking at the demographics, of who you're looking at as particular end users of what you're developing. Can their income support it? Is it the right age group? Educational level? Yeah, there's all things you got to look at, as you start to think about building your cooperatives. Yes, you can build a cooperative on a lot of worker labor, but at some point, even beyond the labor, you're going to have some dedicated skills. So you need to start looking at that. I think a good way that I've always done it, I've always created a little chart and put my matrix up there, what skills I wanted to get involved in the work that I'm doing, and then I sort of take it from that point in terms of how I approach and recruit folks. Because the worst thing is to have somebody on board that you recruited and recruited them in the wrong way, and so you don't get the maximum use out of their skills, and then they don't get the recipient of giving out good skills that they would have wanted to contribute around. So those demographics are really important. And then he talks about the psychographics, which I thought was another, and I never really thought about this, but I know everything is visual that we're seen to be encountering as human beings. But more importantly, those psychographics in terms of looking at long-term thoughts around what are the needs I'm trying to fill. And so I asked this question last week. Have you had a chance to sit down with your co-op teams and have these conversations? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Making sure that our visions are in alignment. Because that's not a good feeling when you get down the road and find out the people that you're traveling with, they want to go the other direction. Yeah, when you've invested so much time and energy in trying to get to that point. So that's why all this is important as you begin to lay out the work on your cooperatives. And so he went to that conversation about what are we offering. And so that's one of the questions I'm going to be asking you, each of you, as I meet you. What are you offering? What you're offering is so unique to what you're doing that you feel that people will be welcoming for it or open to it. Yeah. But of course, we all, in all the work that we do, we want to be always striving to be our best. And so that was something else that I think as we create products and put our names behind what we are doing, that we do it at our highest level of demonstration. And if that is the best, for you, then that is the best for you. So yeah. So that was another point to handle about product development. There's nothing more unappealing as a consumer is when you invest your money in a product, and all of a sudden when you get the product, it's not operating the way that you thought it would operate. And then you can't return it. And then you're stuck with it. And it becomes another piece of furniture in your storehouse. Probably speaking to myself when I say that. Some things I've purchased over the years. After a while, they just become unuseful. They can become unuseful. And so when you think about marketing your organizations, you always want to be relevant. You want to be relevant, particularly those of you who are going not in a product line, but maybe in a service kind of oriented, some kind of service oriented cooperative, that you want to maintain relevancy around who you are. And so, this conversation about that we had 2 weeks ago about the history of Black cooperative movement, added with now looking at governance, and you're going to still do some more work yourselves because you want to figure out what kind of governance you want to have, and then most importantly, how you're going to market that out to others, not just in terms of just members, but also marketing the services and products that you're coming up with down the road. All right. So it's about 6:10. Let's take a 15-minute break. And we'll come back in at say about 6:25 and we'll wrap up. I anticipate we're gonna get out of the room a little early this evening. So I hope to wrap up in the next hour. So let's hurry up to the quick 10-minute break, get back here about 6:20, and then we can start on the second half of the session. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Oh, Ron, I wanted to confirm something. So tomorrow I have you booked for a team meeting before the session with Kichi and Reggie. But she just
Go ahead.
no, she just told me that she won't be available tomorrow to be
No,
there.
I
So
saw
would you
that.
want me to?
I think I saw your email.
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted me to reschedule for next week when they both be available.
No. Let's talk offline about that here.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna go grab me some water. Okay. Okay, is my mic still live?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, again, yeah, unmute your mics because I want to ask a question of all of you. Going back, looking again, taking some notes out of that video that we watched. When should you begin developing a marketing plan or a marketing strategy? When should you begin? Valerie, when? When should you begin developing a marketing plan or strategy?
As soon as possible.
Meaning?
Meaning meaning in the very early stages of your development of your co-op and your during your strategic planning. You should be determining who you're going to want to reach and whether or not what group they fall under, depending on their demographics or their psychographics.
Okay. Any other thoughts on when you should begin to develop a marketing plan or strategy?
I could chime in.
Okay, go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, so we did like one of those business canvas things, which kind of forced us to think about a lot of stuff, and so we had to think about target customers in the context of that.
Mm. Yeah, and I was gonna just say it depends on what kind of business that you are looking to establish. In terms of when do you start developing your plan? But I would think when you start developing, when you come up with a vision, then almost aside from your vision, then you're always thinking about, wow, how can I grow this? How can I do this? It seems like marketing sometimes starts almost at the onset of the idea of doing something. Then you start thinking about all the people that you can reach out to, friends, family, and who would be interested in places that you've gone and you think that it just might be a workable or doable idea. Yeah, so I think at the onset, everybody's response to this question is probably, in my sense, where I look at marketing, is right in the same space of at the point of identifying what kind of business you're trying to marketing to market. Pardon me, that determines a part of when I implement my strategy. But the other part is just when I start to think about ideas, I think about how to market. Almost for me, they just come symbolic and together when I try to think about new ideas and who would be open or receptive to supporting it. So I want to go through another presentation this evening. Let me get my screen correct. And I think okay, good. Okay, I'm going to go back and just revisit this conversation that the last presenter was presenting to us in terms of just value proposition. And so and he did a really good job of just trying to segment out what would be the value proposition in a product and what's the value proposition as the individual. So the value proposition identifies the benefit that your service offers and describes what makes these benefits valuable. It recognizes your customer's main problems and connects this value to your customer's problem. And so he was very adamant about identifying problem. How are you what are you doing to solve the problem? And so it's, again, as you're looking at your ideas around cooperative. What problem are you trying to solve? And then how do you want to do that in a collective way? So think on that. Think on that as you know, again, all this is just good, nourishing conversation that you should be having with your team as you start moving forward. Or in terms of growing your idea, growing your work, working with each other. Part. I have to step away for a moment. So let's go through to the next slide. For those of you who are definitely going to be consumer-based and maybe not service-based, but that means that you still at some point deal with the public and customers. But ask yourself in the sense of how you plan on engaging customers. And then you can even broaden this question in terms of how can you engage members or supporters. So I laid out those seven points here. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can see them for yourself. And in terms of, and a lot goes back to what we were seeing in the in hearing the presenter present in the video. Mm-hmm. Seven critical points. Mm-hmm. And it appears as if you can meet these, then you've done a lot in terms of what you're trying to do in terms of reaching your outreach. So what is the importance of marketing? Well, we know that, it builds brand, and brand, builds a reputation. So when you go shopping or looking for clothes items or other merchandise, you always ask yourself about the brand that you're buying. Certain brands that you purchase, no matter what the product is, you're going to have a level of expectation that it's going to last long and it's going to be the kind of product that you can feel like you got an investment out of it. And so for your business, as he was saying in the video, it really comes down to you. It's you. It won't be the business that attracts people and keep them connected. It'd be you, the business owner, you, the manager, you, the executive director, you, the board president or the board member, you, the employee. It's you. I don't know how many times I've worked in community-based settings and I found myself always aligning myself with the people who live there because they're the ones who support the work. Those ones you can depend on when you're trying to get things going. So I put a lot of reliance on building those kind of partnerships. Marketing informs and builds relationship with customers, certainly does. Certainly does. And I think as you begin to do your work out going forward, that you start to look at your segmented markets. What kind of markets are you going to deal with? Single family here, 40 and over, 18 to 25. Those are the things that you're going to have to ask yourself questions going forward in terms of your market and how are you going to segment your market going forward. And you could be in multiple markets, but different segments of the market. based on your demographics. That's the key, getting that data. So for those of you who may not have affinity for numbers, get somebody inside your organization that knows and knows a little about numbers, not just financial record keeping. I'm talking about being able to read and understand statistical data. Statistical data, because that data of age and race, health status, I mean, all those data is coming out of the census. That's data that we can use that becomes very useful for marketing. All right, so getting that framework, because again, everyone wants to see their idea grow. So a marketing strategy is a long-term, forward-looking approach to planning with the fundamental goal of achieving a sustainable competitive edge. The 4 fundamentals of a marketing strategy are called the marketing matrix. I think that I have that in here. Because again, anything that you do, it will grow exponentially based on the energy that you put into it. So if you're starting a co-op right now, you need to start talking it up now. Start sharing the idea with those you feel that are going to be aligned to this work that you're doing. Don't wait till you started to start to talk about it. Start talking about it now. Because you'd be surprised at how much people pay homage to the fact that they've been a witness to your growth. So reach out and start to put that marketing strategy together now. It doesn't have to be some long written out process, folks. Let me just let you know that too. It doesn't have to be a 20-page paper or a 30-page marketing strategy. It can be a simple marketing strategy where you start in year 1, you grow it into year 2, you build on it in year 3. Each year you expand your marketing strategy or put new fundamentals as a part of your marketing strategy. But you don't have to go in with a big, huge 20-page report, looking all at the competitive edge and all those things that marketers look at. You can do something very simple and very applicable to what you're trying to get done. All right. So let me I think I'm hung up here myself a little bit. Okay. The marketing mix. Okay. That was just mentioned. The 4 marketing mixes are price, product, promotion, and place. Product, price, promotion, and place. So with the product or service that's being sold must satisfy a customer's need or desire. So that's, again, I think that little quick 24-minute video, he covered a whole lot of good material in that. And so you'll get a chance to go back and review it on your own. It's inside your directory, but your products. Now, I was just telling someone recently where I've gone to a restaurant and they've had the same menu for the last 3 or 4 years. And so very rarely do they incorporate anything new in the menu. So after a while, you ate everything on there, so you're looking for something a little different. So what happens? You go someplace that has something a little different. Because the products didn't satisfy me as a consumer and my desire. So you always got to be aware of what your consumers are thinking about your product. I can't talk enough about pricing. There's been a lot of talk about inflation increasing. And so, yes, you want to be able to price your product in a way that is not harming you financially, but yet it's providing an opportunity for you to compete in the marketplace for customers in terms of what you are selling as a business. Promotion. The public needs to be informed about the product and its features in order to understand how it fills their needs or desires. There were some things I didn't know, that certain cities and certain products came out of certain cities. And so that's just the geographical makeup of how different segments of the market may operate. And so in promotions is that if you don't blow your horn around what you're trying to do, the whole question is who's going to blow it for you? You have to be your biggest promoter. I'm quite sure many of you are. I'm certainly am, because nobody's going to promote you better than you. And so whatever you're looking at developing right now, get in the mindset of marketing these four principles here in terms of product, price, promotion, and place. Particularly if you are looking at establishing a on-site building with services attached to it. People want to come, they want to feel safe, they want to feel at home, they want to feel like this place is going to serve them. So again, these four marketing mixes are product, price, promotion, and place. So again, I want just to echo out with a sense of urgency how important it is now to really start looking at how you're going to market and promote this cooperative. So here we explore the question of your target audience or target market. If you're going to go into selling organic foods, you don't want to locate your business in a neighborhood where there are meat eaters. Those are not going to be people who you want to target that's going to support your business. And so again, going back, looking in hindsight about the demographics and how demographics and data is so important to help you craft out strategies going forward in terms of your market niche, looking at your value proposition based on your market. So whatever your target audience is now, start to develop your thinking around how you're going to plan to market to that target audience. We were talking about, again, earlier about market segmentation and approaches, the geographical, the demographic, the psychographic, and the behavior. And so under geographical, look at, again, location, where you're planning to locate your business, whether it's a city, whether it's a state, whether it's a community, that's going to best allow you the best opportunity for growth. The best opportunity for growth. And probably will come up as a part of where you locate geographically. Demographically, again, when you're looking at your market, look at age, gender, family size, occupation, income, education, religion, race, nationality. All these factors are going to play into who your market niche becomes and and who your primary audience is going to be when you start to reach out in terms of providing services or products. Psychographics in terms of just looking at lifestyles of people, looking at the social class, personal values and attitudes. About some time ago, I worked with a neighborhood-based organization that was developing a mall here in the District of Columbia, and we began to entertain questions from some of the folks around certain services that they thought that this community could not support. And one of those things was a supermarket, and a high-end supermarket. They thought, the community couldn't support, that particular supermarket in the neighborhood. But something I had not thought of, but the gentleman who I worked for at the time had done some research. And what he had found out that the folks in the community went to the grocery store practically every day. And so one of the concerns about the developer was that would this community support that grocery store? And with that data that people spent every day in almost an accumulation, with some folks spent on a 1 or 2 day shopping during the weekend, gave a whole new look demographically about the community. Because actually that data showed that they could support a new upscale supermarket in the area because of where their shopping patterns were. Psychographic, okay, we talk about attitudes and values and things to get to the social norms, because you do want to know that about your market niche and the folks that you look at as servicing with products and services. And of course, behavioral approaches was the last one in terms of just what people get out of the benefit. Everybody likes a bargain. And sometimes it may be impractical to meet that expectation that comes with providing discount and bargain prices. And you'll learn more about that when you start to develop your programs in terms of how do you do the pricing around your product? How do you price it? Particularly when there maybe be no competitive market for you to get data from. How do you price out? Okay. Most of these marketing channels you all are using right now, I'm quite sure. The social media, we all do word of mouth. Maybe most of you probably have a basic website somewhere that can disseminate information. You do your email marketing. And so, and pay for click marketing, that's when you're sending those ads out. I know that on Facebook, you can always post the ad on Facebook. And so social media is now becoming the lay of the land in terms of being able to get things out there visually, as well as following people following you. So, but again, you probably know more than I do in terms of some of the other ways that you can market your work out there aside from these 5. Go ahead.
Ron, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen the term before, but what exactly, and I'm one of the older generation, so I don't know this, but what is pay-per-click marketing?
That's when someone, did someone want to answer that? that's the marketing when people are sending out through third parties, and they get the you pay them for every click that you get on your marketing platform. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
so it's almost like if you think about it, when people follow people on Facebook, you got 300 followers. So you could probably buy a packet, a marketing packet, and pay for the click that goes on your on your website. Because they would probably advertise that out there. Mhm. I'm going through a process right now for a new website, and what the developers trying to sell me on is this SEO. How it moves you up in the ladder of the search engines. But well, it's a learning experience, just just to be able to understand that the marketing, a lot of different ways of marketing. But these are just again, just a few traditional means to do it. Mhm. Okay. Okay, let me stop presenting right here for the time being.
I would like to add something to the conversation.
Please do.
As it relates to marketing. A high recommendation is for everyone to do a Google My Business. It's free, and that's a inexpensive way to get your SEO up.
Thank you. So, again, talking about marketing. Has everyone, I know some of you are more graduated, a few of you do have things already in place, but do you have a descriptor of who you are? What's your mission and what your vision is, somewhere that you distribute to other folks when they ask the question, who are you? All right. All right. So if I was getting the elevator with you, and I ain't gonna say 5 minutes, I'll say 3 minutes. Could you describe to me in 3 minutes what you do, who you are, and why I should be connected with you? See, Anna, I see your thumb up on that. Okay, give us your 3 minute spill.
So the Central West Baltimore Buying Club is a group of people who work together to bring everybody else up. What we do is we pull together everybody's funds in order to buy produce at wholesale prices. But we're actually much more than just like a food co-op or anything like that, because we also work on building a community. So you're not only buying into like cheaper produce, but you're also buying in to build something greater. And by working together with us, we're going to introduce you to new people who are also just as passionate about food justice as you are. And we're going to work together to create an environment that we truly want to live in.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I learned a lot about you. I learned a lot.
That was my unprepared spiel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So tomorrow lecture is going to be Ms. Charmaine Davis. Did we send out information on Ms. Davis to everybody? You have her? Okay. Okay. I hope you are ready, because she's going to take you down the road of looking at the hard realities of our fiscal state, our balance sheets. And so one thing you will learn from Ms. Davis, it's important to have a good balance sheet. Does anybody know what a balance sheet is? Huh? Okay. All right. Okay. I trust you all know. But she'll be talking about that, and then before we talk with some funders about going forward. Michelle, did you send out that checklist? Did you send out the checklist?
Checklist for the MOAs.
The checklist, the individual checklist. I think like 6 or 7 items on it.
Is that for the team meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna send those out when I schedule the meetings with everyone.
Okay then. All right. Okay. So, in the next week, folks, I hope to get a better understanding of what you're doing and how we can support your work. We're probably going into what I call the heart of this work. But now we're talking about financing, talking about legal, documents being drafted. And so, so this is the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have really intense sessions around just those items going forward. In the meantime, I'm going to ask that you go back and review the sessions that Michelle has sent out as of today, right? All the recordings and the PowerPoints. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I haven't received that.
Who's that said who didn't receive it?
Nikichi.
Nikichi says she hasn't received it.
I believe I sent an email out this Monday. It has a Google Drive link, which has all the PowerPoints. And then it also has the link to our YouTube channel where all the videos are uploaded.
Okay, I'll check again and I'll let you know if I see it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So folks, we're gonna exit out early this evening. But we're gonna be back in this space at 5 tomorrow. If there are any questions you have, and particularly regarding these upcoming 101s, let me know, and then we can discuss them or email me. I'll respond back to you. But I just want to get past these 101s so I can have a chance to, again, actually sit and spend some time talk with all of you and getting more of an idea of what the work that you're trying to do.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Did you want us to just fill out that stuff and be ready to talk about it, or did you want us to send you anything in advance?
Well, I prefer that you, I don't know if Michelle put that in instructions, but I would like you to complete what we've sent you so we can have that for room for discussion when I meet with each of the groups.
Okay, cool.
And Chichi, I need to talk with you. Can we talk after class is over? Okay, thank you. All right. All right, folks. Don't forget to continue your reading. All right, continue reading and make sure to get a chance to go back and look at the videos again. We'll see you in the room tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And they will have a safe and relaxing evening.
Thank you. You too. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.